Hi guys, welcome to your second lesson on odds and evens. In today's lesson we are going to look at how to identify odd and even numbers and how to figure out if a number is odd or if a number is even. So in our first lesson we looked at how even numbers from up to 10 are, of course, 0, 2, 4, 6 and 8. And our odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. If we can remember that, then we are going to find things a lot more easier when working with evens and odds, and it's going to help us out with what we are looking at today as well. So in our last lesson we discussed how if we have an even number, we know it's an even number because it can be divided into two equal groups. So if it's an odd number, it won't be able to be divided into two groups equally. So for example, 6 we know is an even number, and here I've got our 6 just counters, and we can see that if we were going to divide those 6 counters, they could go into these two groups equally. So we can see we can put that one in a group and then one in this group over here. One to this group here and one, oops, hold on. And this one to that group, one to this group again, and one to this group. So you can see we have 6 counters, but they have been equally shared amongst these two groups. There's 3 in this group and there's 3 in this group, so we know it's an even number. But sometimes we have to figure out if quite large numbers, like the number 28, is even or odd. And again, we could do the same thing. We could sit here and we could move them into the groups one at a time to make sure that it's done evenly and fairly. But that might take us quite a long time to sit here and do every single one. It would really take a long time. So today we're going to learn a new trick of how to figure out if a number is even or odd without having to separate it into two even groups. Alright, are you ready to learn the trick? Okay, so the trick of finding out if a number is even or odd is we don't have to separate it into two groups to see if it's equal or not equal. We just have to look at the number. And what we need to focus on and what we need to make sure we know first is what digits are in which hundreds, tens, ones column. So this number, 28, we have 2 tens, this is our tens column here, and 8 ones in this column over here. All we have to focus on is what number is in the ones column. We don't really need to worry about this tens for now, we just need to look at the number in the ones. And we can see that this number in the ones column is the number 8. And if we remember our poster from before, the number 8, there it is even. So the number 28, 2 tens and 8 ones all together is even because it ends in a number that is even. It ends in 8. Now, sometimes it would be a bit tricky to sit there and divide a really big number into two groups. It would take you a pretty long time to sit there and move them one at a time to see if they can be divided into two equal groups. So again, we go back to the trick that I told you just before. We look at the number and we can see here this is number 75, 7 tens and 5 ones. 5 ones in that column. So we don't have to worry about the whole number, we just want to worry about what's in the ones column, this part here. What is the last digit of the number? So this one here is of course a 5, And if we think about the poster that we know, what numbers end in, we can see that up here, the number 5 is, of course, odd. So that means that the whole number 75, the whole thing, is odd because it ends in a 5. We could even try it with really big numbers as well. Alright, here is that big number. For example, 8,074. Now you might think, geez, that is a big number. And you might think, oh gosh, I've got no idea if that is odd or even. But remember, we know that trick. We don't have to stress over it. We know a trick that can help us figure out if a number is even or odd. We have our thousands column here, our hundreds, our tens, and our ones. What digit do we need to focus on? We only need to focus on one. Yes, we only need to focus on the ones column. And what number is in the ones column? So, of course, this is a 4. Can you have a think about whether a 4 is odd or even? Have a think. That's right. 4 is even. So this whole number altogether, 8,074, is, of course, even. So now you can see that if we know this table really well and we know the numbers that are even and the numbers that are odd up to 10, then that actually can help us with even really, really large numbers. So try your hardest to remember that our even numbers are the ones that end in 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and our odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Okay, I'm going to give you one last challenging one before we go. Look at this huge number here. This number is 63,472,145. It is massive. But even though it's really huge, we can figure out if it's odd or even. We don't need to worry about the millions. And we don't even really need to focus on the thousands, which is these ones along here, or the hundreds. We don't even need to really look at the tens. We just need to focus on the ones in that last number. This one here, the 5, is that odd or even? If we think about our numbers that we know, of course, 5 is an odd number. So this whole number altogether, 63,472,145, is odd. Great effort today, guys. You did a really great job. Well done. Keep up the great work.